Welcome to Courageous Conviction. Remember that Jeff and I record each Saturday 5 episodes. So please hit the like button, subscribe so you catch all 5 episodes. We usually start out with one theme or topic. We have to go down a lot of rabbit holes to really understand it. Some things are more sensitive than others right now, what's going on in the world. So hit the like button, subscribe, and let's jump into this video.
But the reason we left was because our freedoms were gone. The criminality, the possibility of being involved in a crime in Costa Rica was just too much to deal with, and not being able to protect yourself. I had a firearm there, just like you did, because it was legal. But if you use it, you're still going to jail. Even if you shoot somebody in your house that's, about ready to do something unthinkable to your family and you protect yourself, you're still going to jail in Costa Rica. Right?
Well, wait. I know a way that you wouldn't go to jail.
And how's that?
Well, a friend of mine in Ojota, right? Ojota would be the same as like what our FBI today here, right? He told me, he says, here's how you don't go to jail. You buy yourself a toy gun. One looks real. When you shoot them, put the toy gun in their hand. When the police show up, they're just going to pat you on the back and you're free.
Right. So then you got to falsify evidence. But so if you don't do that, you're still going to jail. And you know this because that's just the way it is there. And that was the one thing that I couldn't get around. Yeah, eventually you're going to be vindicated. But the thing is you're still going to jail. In this country, up until this point. Now they're trying to change that. New York, the guy that, on
the subway.
Well, there's too many. I wasn't talking about that one, but we could keep talking about them because there's so many instances now where people protect themselves, and there's these district attorneys that want to throw them in jail because you don't have a right to protect yourself. It's the police's job. You're taking the law into your own hands. I'm like, no, that's not taking the law into your own hands. That's just personal defense, self-defense. You have a right to protect yourself and those people around you and your business, and if that means lethal protection, then yeah, absolutely. But Costa Rica didn't allow that, and is happening in this country now.
And that's most countries in Latin America, my friend. Yeah. And so when they come here, they have that same mentality, and that's my point. They could be very good people, but they're going to vote a certain way because they have been taught that it's only the police's job. And actually, in some of these countries you go into, the police don't even have bullets. They feel the military is the only one to have the bullets, right? And the actual weapons. That's only the military needs that. Well, that's scary. You unarm your citizenry completely, and you allow a military that's under the command of whoever takes power, right? And you say, well, they'll rise up against that person. Well, no, they won't, because they want their livelihoods too. They're not going to lose their jobs, just like Hitler's people. A good book to read is by Stoyanovsky's books. The Gulag Archipelago, right? Mm-hmm. And a good book I suggest, because he starts out and talks about the police under Stalin, and how they knew, and they were given the options too. They were given the options to go and whether they were going to take these pregnant women out, these Jewish women, and shoot them in the back of the heads, And I know it's just being very, very blunt, but that's what happened. And that's what's going to happen. And believe it or not, it's already happening. And I'm going to jump now. I'm going to go down a rabbit hole to get into this real quick. Let's go back to we started off screen. Let's go back to what we saw. Like or do not like Elon Musk or Donald Trump. What were the verdicts that came out this last week? Well, it was pure theft, Jeff. They came out with almost 400 million between Trump, his boys, his sons, right? And other people that were close to Trump. They decided, the banks they decided that he overvalued his properties. Again, we all know if we get loans out, anybody who's done anything in business. So who are they pitching this to? The ignorant, the people who don't go out to search and get that education Elon Musk talked about. They don't have to figure things out, right? So they're going out and saying that Trump overvalued his assets. I'm sorry, people. You ever got a loan? You don't tell the bank how much your assets are worth. They go out and they send assessors out there, and they go out and do appraisers. They'll go appraisers, right? And they go and appraise your assets. They appraised the assets. The banks did, not Donald Trump. Donald Trump had about $450 million in cash, right? So you have this this lawsuit pop up with this woman all of a sudden, comes out of nowhere, gets $83 million, right? And it's a joke out there about how they took his money and what they're going to do with it. The shopping spree is going to go on. This is pure theft. And
they're
now
convicting him. They're convicting him by public opinion. The woman didn't have a leg to stand on in court, it appears, and yet, she got all this money. He's given up that money right now because they want to strip him of any powers. If he doesn't have money, then he can't fight, and that's the only thing that's in these folks' minds, is to get Trump to not have his money so he can't fight against them, so it'd be an easy win for them. But that's
the truth of it. That's the truth of it, But what the whole idea is, what's her name, Letitia, whatever. She's out there, and she's, if this is the right one, because this is Georgia, New York.
She's the head of the witch hunters. They don't have any credibility when it comes to real of criminal intent there. With Trump, and they all they want to do is strip him. They
didn't even give him a jury
to become president. Yeah,
they didn't even give him a jury. This judge was able to make the decision all by himself. That's not even constitutionally
right.
sound.
That's appealable. That's appealable, and it should be. Who knows what's going to happen down the road, because they're going to try everything, and they've got it's gotten too big.
Well, hold on. Listen to this. They know that, and so the verdict came out yesterday, a couple days ago, right? That comes out. He's got to pay a total of about all in aggregate about $400 million, right? So he's got to pay the $83 million. He had $450 million. He's broke. He's got no more cash. So what they do is they go and say, okay, for 3 years, you cannot run your businesses in New York, nor can your sons for 2 years. And we have to be, a government official is in all your businesses, keeping an eye and telling us
they have to pay for,
that they have to pay for. Exactly. And so they can spy on everything they're doing. They can try to, infiltrate the culture in there and just destroy it. But they're going to try to destroy it and take his property from him, right? And so then they come back and say that he can't even work with the banks of New York. So they broke him financially. They strap him what he can do with his. So what's going to happen is they're basically going to have to get approval from the government for anything they do for business, right? So they're going to try to destroy Trump's business in New York. That's what they're going to do, right? And they're trying to make it look like it's for governance, for our safety, and they're trying to equalize because he's a wealthy man, and they're going to bring back that money and bring it back into society. They're taking that money. That money's not going back to anybody else. It's going to go give it to the immigrants, et cetera, et cetera. So there's Trump, right? Now, look, I'm going to say something right now, people out there. I didn't vote for Donald Trump either election. I didn't vote the last election, right? Now, I will say this, that I will vote for him in this election because I think that he has proven himself, and I think we need him in this drastic measure. Is he all perfect? No, but he wants to support the Constitution and people's ability to act responsibly free, right?
Yeah.
Now, his out there, I'm going to go grab all his illegals and ship them all back. Well, that's the people. Oh, that's poor people. What are you going to do now? You got kids here. You're going to divide families. Blah blah blah. Hey, you got to find that scripture where the Lamanites, once they were invaded by this whole idea of the Gadiantans, they literally hunted them down and eliminated them from within them. Right?
Hey, there's some bad eggs here.
And you've got this. You've got an obvious corruption. Now, I said in the last podcast, and I kind of bleathed over it and kind of came in to clarify so we don't run into legal issues. I was talking about Supreme Court and other politicians that were, appearing to be bought off. Well, there are facts out there that many of these individuals are being bought off by Soros money, including who we're talking about now, these witch hunt going after Trump, right? So my point being that they're taking his money and his business from him. That is completely un-American. And that is completely unjust. No matter what, there is no real criminal law. He didn't break any laws. Nobody got hurt in this. Right. And what they're saying is the banks could have made even more money, but because Trump overinflated the value of his assets, they didn't make as much money. Right. That is actually BS. That had nothing to do with it.
She could have said anything, in the tone of voice that she was saying it, and have her whole mob, cronies there supporting her, yelling and cheering about all this stuff and their victory. They're already, doing the victory dance.
Well, here's the thing. The reason, though, Jeff, I just want to say this part. The reason they don't have a jury there, Jeff, is because they know that they could not do this with 100% conviction, right? Yeah. Because there was no real case there. So they didn't have a jury, which is completely unconstitutional. And that Constitution is being pushed away. And that's where I was kind of going with that. And let me just finish this, then you can jump in your brother, okay? Elon Musk gets slapped now. A judge decides that Elon Musk for Tesla, his payment agreement, which is the largest ever with an executive, is too much. And that no more, he should not get his money. So he denied, I saw reports 53 billion, but I think it's more like 53 million, right? And because I've heard both. 53 million sounds about right. 53 billion would be a lot of money to pay somebody a compensation package, but it was a compensation package that I guess was over the last 10 years. And so could be the case. Either way, a judge steps in now into private affairs. Well, because you're saying it's a publicly traded company. So if the politicians can get involved with this now and do what's fair for the shareholders. You have a shareholder who apparently appeals this payment package. Well, they became a shareholder after the fact that Elon Musk had already had this agreement. But Elon Musk is the reason Tesla exists, right? He's the creator between this. He's the genius behind all this. So they deny him his money. Well, he's defending freedom right now. He's come out recently and said, hey, anybody who gets banned off of Twitter or lose their job or something of that nature because of Twitter, you can use our attorneys. We're going to help you, right? This is not just. And so they're being attacked. And, this is probably one of the reasons why the prophet right now is just very much focused on let's try to love and get along, because if you're going to stand up right now, there's not enough unity to stand up in forces massive enough to be able to do anything. We are too greatly outnumbered right now. Now, where are you going to talk about your brother?
But the only way we're going to get that way is by, thinking right again. We
becoming one mind.
Wrong. Yeah. We've thought wrong for a long time as a society. Society is going to have to start leaning in one direction a lot heavier than what we have. And things like this right now that's been going on with the whole Trump trials, even people like my brother, who is an attorney in New York, he started out as a defense attorney or a prosecutor, and later became a defense attorney. He's always kind of leaned a little bit on the liberal side, kind of the way we did. But before that, I think he was conservative minded before he went to college. The point is that I'm making is now, him and I were talking recently, and he's like, well, I'm not a big fan of Trump. I think he's racist, etc. And I didn't want to get into that, that argument there. But what he did see that was going on was wrong. He goes, you got to see what's going on as being other motivations. It's not just about they think Trump is bad. There is something more going on. And that's the real scary thing. If people are afraid of Trump and what can happen, they should be really afraid about what the other side is trying to do to remove Trump, and people, and remove Tesla or that whole ownership.
Hey, if they can do it to some of the world's wealthiest people, then they can do it to us. Too, right?
No, and that's the story.
And they're going to, and they're doing it.
They are doing it. And that's why it's things are going to have to start changing where people come together, and people coming together will always be able to combat a wicked government. Overall it's still it's going to take a while, and there's probably going to be a lot more stuff that's going to happen before people become more unified. But it's starting right now. I think the seed has been planted.
I think the seed was planted years ago when we were trying to be born by President David O. McKay, right? And then up since then.
Well, maybe so, but I think there's a new change right now where you have people that, regardless of race, are coming together, and they're coming with the same thing because
that seed. Okay, you're coming together.
Tired of seeing their liberties being stripped and our communities becoming less safe. We're giving it up to the drug dealer. We're giving it up to the illegal immigrant that came over here that doesn't want to work. We're giving it up to the neighbor that drives a brand new, Cadillac or Esplanade SUV, is still on welfare. How did
I take my daughter to school. Now, the Latino population last year was, I would go to school and I actually have to look for Latinos, right? I go take her to school now. Everybody around me in these nice Denali's and nicer vehicles than I have.
Right.
And they've only been here a year.
Yeah.
Or right around there. Right. And they're in the schools now, and I saw the other day, that in my little, we're a small little town up here, right? And I see people running for supervisors that are like East Indian and Islamic, right? And they're running for local politics here, and that's what they do, right? And then they come in and it changes because they don't come up. And a lot of these, you don't have to be a U.S. citizen anymore to even run in some of these areas, right? But they come up and they start changing. They move away from the Constitution. And I guess that's what we're going back to, is being one mind. How do we become one mind? How did the city of Enoch be of one mind? Well, obviously they had a constitution amongst them. How were the Nephites of one mind? They had a constitution, right? They had a law of the land that did not divide them, that they all bit into. Does that mean they all thought the same? They all lived in an echo chamber? No, absolutely not, right?
No, but they all agree that, the criminal point of things, and things being changed and diluted, where there's no justice or limited, we're not protected, and that's a scary thing. That is a motivator for people to become united, because they want to stick together, because they know that if we stick together, that we're going to be more powerful. I can't fend off, the rest of the whole city from my little house. But if we're all together, that's a different story. Or if there's enough of us together to where we can, unite and make a difference, then that's something else.
I listen to these podcasters, these former SEALs and Green Berets that do these training camps. And by the way, if anybody wants to do any of these training camps where they're going to teach you tactical, how to defend yourself, and really a combat situation where you're maybe possibly an invasion. Now, these Houthi, just to take a side note, and we're not trying to, the idea is not to be a doomsday here. The idea is to walk through the truth and the facts and pull people's head out of the sand, because so many bishops, including mine, feel it's okay to leave the head in the sand because, as I was told, that ignorance is actually bliss. That was what my bishop told me, right? And I thought to myself, well, that is really a sad approach, that you're going to deprive people of truth and knowledge and not allow them to make choices because you want to protect them. That sounds like something Satan offered to me, right, in pre-existence. And I'm not saying he's a bad guy. I think he means well, but he's battling with that, what I can see in him. And I don't think he even sees this in himself. And who am I? I can't give him counsel. He's the bishop, doesn't ask me for counsel. He does not agree with what I see. But yet I dedicate my life to studying this stuff. He doesn't, right? And that's what most cases. That's what Benner said. Huh?
75% of millennials are leaving the church right now. And I don't think it's just our church. I think it's any church. But
it's Christ in general, Christianity in general, yeah.
Right. But we have that in our church right now. This is an issue. People are leaving the church. It's because, there's so much information on the internet. It does work both ways.
And the stat I heard though, Jeff, was LDS. The 75% was LDS. That was an LDS stat. Right.
No, it was, and that's what I'm just assuming that other churches
it's spread out,
a similar issue as well. But you're right. The stat did come from, LDS, numbers. In any event, that's not, and you look in the pews and you go, gosh, wards are kind of migrating together. They have to be combined. When is it going to turn around to where we start seeing positive growth in our communities here in the U.S.? Because we might be growing in Africa, we might be growing in other areas, but we're not growing because we're losing. And
growth and retention are two different things, though, Jeff. I grow a company, I grow a business, and I know you have to say, well, you can't quite compare business to the church, but yet there's a lot of principles that are overlapping. I grow a business and I go around and just offend all my clients, and I don't complete my jobs. At the end of the day, I don't have a business, right?
Right.
And so my whole focus is, and this is the purpose of this podcast, is retention. The purpose of this podcast is we're not out there speaking to non-members trying to get you to come into the church. We're trying to speak to the members that are in the church now to not lose your testimonies and to come back if you're not already gone. Yeah.
Yeah. Those guys that are thinking about leaving the church, and I think that's,
I thank you for being with us on Courageous Conviction. Remember, there's 5 episodes each week that we put out. We have to go down a lot of rabbit holes. So stay with us, hit the thumbs up, subscribe, and don't miss tomorrow's episode on Courageous Conviction.